Good evening, everybody. Welcome to One Hub Racing for round number 4 of Season 17 here in the top tier at One Hub, the Pinnacle tier. It is the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix around the Marina circuit. Will Netsky make its 2 wins on the trot? Will Lakitu recover from his 11th position last time out? Will Dynastics remember to come into the pits twice? Those questions and more will be answered over the next hour or so. My name is Luke, and alongside me once again is one of our drivers in the prospect tier. It is Matt. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to this race. The less said about earlier, the better, but it'll make for some non-entertaining viewing on YouTube from my point of view, but I'm sure stuff happened. I just didn't see a car all evening until I was lapped, so that was fun. But I'm looking forward to this race. We know for a fact there's not going to be any rain, so that takes that out of the question. So there'll be a lot of setups to deliver on, especially sector 2 and 3, like the balance. There's a lot to figure out, but I'm glad to be here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm hoping that we get some good racing. Abu Dhabi feels like another one of those circuits, a bit like Paul Ricard on this game, that sort of fits into that category of, in real life, no one would miss it if we never went there again. But on the game, it is sometimes capable of providing good overtaking action. There are 2 DRS zones where you will see lots of the action, and that is on the back straight heading into turn 8, and then the long, almost straight curve that heads into turn 11. That is where you will see the majority of the overtaking action, but a bit like Hungary, last time out you do need to work for it, and last time out it was perhaps no surprise that the pole sitter took the victory. Netsky with a fantastic performance to take the win, actually taking the lead of the championship. If though Dynastics, who ended up finishing second, had remembered to come into the pits for the second time, he would have taken the lead in the championship. Alas, it was still a great performance from Dynastics to get those hard tyres to last as long as they did, but it is Netsky in the lead on 46 points. Lakitu has 42, Dynastics 36, Toxic 34, and then the rest of our premium drivers here, Samba 24, Khalifa getting by far his best result of the season. With a second place, he's on 20, Konzo and Scopefielder have 16, Ollie Ravel has 14 points, J-Luke has 12, Lukey and Larkin both on 7 points, Cliffy yet to score any points. This could be a really interesting race. You've already mentioned, Matt, that the setups are quite important around here. Sector 2, you need for straight line speed. Sector 3 has an almost street circuit-like quality to it.
Yeah, it does. There's certainly 3 very different sectors with different characteristics, but it's going to be interesting to see which one the drivers prefer tonight, and which one they're set up more in favour of. So I'm looking forward to seeing the battles on and off track, especially for setups and strategy-wise.
Yes, definitely. In case you haven't already guessed by the slight mickey taking we've been doing, you do have to do 2 stops around here. Expect to see soft, medium, soft, some variation of that strategy. Obviously, those in the top 10 will definitely be going soft, medium, soft, or soft, soft, medium, depending on what they want to do. And as Matt has already said, it is Abu Dhabi. The chances of you getting rain around here are probably 1 in 1,000. I know it has happened to some people. I've never seen it happen when I've driven or commentated on any league, so I'll be very surprised if that happens. Just imagine if it did, though. That would throw everyone's plans into chaos, because this would be one of the tracks where you wouldn't bother practicing in the wet, obviously.
Yeah, I think Bahrain would be the other one, even though it has rain in the title. But no, it's definitely going to cause a bit of an issue for a lot of people if it does rain. But as you say, you wouldn't practice it, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure everyone will be hoping that they don't get there. A few more facts then about this Abu Dhabi circuit. First used in 2009 in Formula 1, the final race of the season, which saw Sebastian Vettel take a victory in the Red Bull, and a fantastic battle towards the end of the race between Mark Webber and Jenson Button in the Brits title-winning season. It has, so far before tonight, had 19 different races across 12 seasons here at One Hub Racing. The last time it was used was the full season on F1 2019, way back on what was season 14, and it was in the Pinnacle tier. It was Stephen who took the win, James Slater taking second, Westy taking third, although if you go down to some of the lower tiers in Precision, which was the second tier then and is the second tier now, it was Lukey who took a victory in the Ferrari, despite him actually saying that, I believe it was him who said that he's not actually a big fan of this circuit.
Yeah, that's not a very uncommon response this week. There's a lot of people that would rather it not be raced at all. But unfortunately, you have to, so them's the rules. I'm sure it'll be a great race regardless. There will be plenty of action, and there are some action points which I'll talk you through as qualifying starts. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Yes, it is. We've actually had a few changes in the driver lineup, as well as anyone who's in the YouTube chat will have noticed. We've now got Corey driving in the Racing Point. He has replaced Infamous Pillars, and Jules, who I don't actually believe is here at the moment. He is now a full-time replacement from Zentricity in the Haas, and Jess is on it with the task command. I had it ready to send at any moment. I just had it press send, but there you go. All the task commands that you can use to check on how your favourite drivers are doing in the qualifying session. It is no surprise to see that it is going to be a very dry qualifying session. Pole position can be quite good around here because on the calendar it's probably one of the shortest ones towards turn 1, so if you qualify on pole you've got a very good chance of leading by the end of lap 1.
Yeah, unless you just don't move off the line, I'm pretty sure it's 99% certain of leading into and out of turn 1. So whoever gets pole will be in the very early advantage of the race, but you say Corey's here, I hadn't noticed that, but yeah, he's quick as well, so he could really add some fireworks to the top of the order.
Yeah, there are some really quick drivers tonight, and you mentioned in the action points, that's probably one of the most important ones that I've just seen the only Tomac go around. The pit lane exit at Abu Dhabi. When it first got introduced in Formula 1, we were like, ooh, that's going to be very challenging. It's not. For the drivers, it doesn't really prove to be as much of a challenge. It's the thought of it seems to be the scariest thing, rather than actually doing it, because it is rare that you see accidents around there, but if someone maybe just loses a bit of concentration, it would be very easy to have a spin, and then you'd probably get disqualified for blocking the pit lane, obviously.
Yeah, or you could just do what I've seen before, you could just slightly tap the outside wall on the right, and that'll just take off your wheel and reset you to the middle of turn 2, which causes it all kind of different issue, but hopefully none of that happens. But it is fitting you mentioned Yoli Tama, who was in the pre-race interviews. If I can find it a second, it seems to have disappeared, but yeah, there we go. He prefers to get this track out of the way early on, and he wants to not finish in the bottom 2, although to be ambitious, get a points finish. So two very different outcomes for him, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. He's one of the few drivers that is yet to score points this season. There's been a few drivers that have started doing a bit better in the championship. Here is one of them at the moment, Samba, the only Williams driver obviously to score points last week. And unfortunately, because of Dynastic's disqualification, that meant Mercedes with their double podium from Netsky and Toxic. They are now leading the championship on 80 points, and Williams have 60. But seeing as Samba is one of our race premium drivers, let's let him take us for a lap around this Yas Marina circuit.
Oh, you're on board there, sorry.
He's just heading around turn 1 now. He's looking pretty good so far. Now, this first sector is pretty straightforward for him.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. If you get the entry out of 1 right, you can just go pretty much flat through 3. As you come out of 2, the crest will take you naturally over the curb anyway as he goes around the first slow corner of the track, which is trickier than it looks. If you get it slightly wrong the turn angle, you lock up or go wide. But he's opened the DRS very nicely as he goes down the first of the 2 DRS straights. I think there's only 1 activation point, so unless there's another one coming up through this corner, which I don't know about. If there is, apologies. Oh, there is, of course. There's the line. I'm an actual moron. There's a DRS being opened there, and it looks to be very tidy so far in the very early stages, of course. But last week we had a very competitive time very early on that was only beaten by the person that said it themselves. So if he could do that again, that's very much the driving point of the opening of the session, and he's low on fuel, which could explain the low lap times that he was doing very early on in the sessions all season. As we enter sector 3 now, it's a little bit, as you say, street circuity, but Toma does a 33.7, but we'll see what Samba does as he rounds the final corner, gets on the power nicely, and 33.2. Half a second in it.
33.2, a very decent opening run. That's already quicker than what we saw in Prospect and Podium. Precision did get into the 132.749, and talking of a 132.7, talk about no pressure as a new boy for Corey then. A fantastic time from him, pretty much identical to what we saw in the Precision tier earlier on, so you can expect those times to come down throughout the session. We'll see what Netsky can do. He is in the final sector now. This very awkward final sector I find around this circuit. As you head through turn 18 and 19 there, it's very easy to just clip the wall. 20 and 21 as well. Can't take them as fast as you might initially think. Look at that from Netsky, a 132.401. He was the king of qualifying night. He's shown in the last couple of races he could be the king at qualifying at quite a few races this season as well.
Yeah, but we mentioned very quickly Corey's quick as well. I didn't expect him to be quite that quick very as early on as that, but yeah, it's looking to be a great session, and we've only just started.
Yeah, it is. We have only just started. Ollie Flavel then we're on board with now in the McLaren. He is in 13th place in this session, obviously having not yet to set a time. Not doing too badly in the championship either, up in 9th position at the moment, and he moves into 7th in the session. And we've got 3 of the ex-Precision drivers from last season there together. Well, we've got 4 together. Sorry, with Khalifa, Janil, Scopefielder and Ollie Flavel. It's fair to say they've all had differing fortunes of late.
Yeah, very much so. As I was just watching the other McLaren of Lukey there, who was also in the drivers' pre-conferences. But there's very much fluctuating form between those 4 drivers you mentioned, and I'm pretty sure they'll all be fighting with each other to get back on the uptrend. So I'm looking forward to seeing that battle. At some point they will be together on track.
Yeah, they will be indeed. It'd be interesting. Well, Khalifa did tell Janil apparently to get some practice done around this circuit, and it seems to have worked for Janil so far. He's in 5th, only 600ths behind his teammate. We'll see what Lukey can do then. As I said earlier, he's not someone who says he enjoys this track too much. The drivers were asked whether they preferred to have it at the middle or the end. It seemed to be a 50-50 split between I don't really care where it is and I just wish it wasn't on the calendar whatsoever, as J-Luke has gone off in qualifying there, and it looks like there might be a Ferrari with some damage around him as well. I'm not sure. That's see if Scopefield has got any damage at this moment in time, because he looked to be off the circuit. No, Scopefield has not got any damage, but J-Luke, it's a bit of an odd place to have retired from, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you don't see it there often unless you just have no brakes. But even then, I don't even know how he's managed to end up there, but you just saw the stricken car. I don't know what was going on, but anyway, Lakitu's just gone quickest overall as Lukey's coming around the final couple of corners to see what kind of lap time he can put in for his first time around. First competitive lap, 33.6 is not too bad, but that will put him P10 for now.
Yes, P10 for now, and of course, same rules as actual Formula 1. You qualify in the top 10, you will have to start on the tyres that you qualify on, with the compulsory pit 2 stops rule at one hub. That's perhaps not a disadvantage that it could be in some other leagues. We'll see what Konzo can do then. He's just starting his flying lap, was nominated for Driver of the Day last time out. That did end up being won by Jules, who crossed the line in 8th position, got bumped up to 7th because of the disqualification from Dynastics, and then promptly got bumped down back to 8th place in the stewards briefing after receiving a 10-second penalty for a dive bomb on Janil, which did break the front wing of Janil and did really lead to a bit of a bad race from last season's Precision champion. He started this season really well with a 5th place. It's just not gone right for him since then.
No, it hasn't, and unfortunately for him, he found himself on the list of cold again, which is a little bit harsh, but I'm sure when he gets a decent result like he did in round 1, that the team will be off his back for a bit, so we're looking forward to that one.
Yes, definitely. We'll see what other drivers can do then. Konzo going around at the moment. His first sector time, 16.7, and then a 39.9. So his first sector comparing very well with those higher up, just losing a bit of time in that middle sector, perhaps losing a bit of speed in the straight line and going for a more downforce and therefore a more draggy setup as he comes around this middle sector. We've already mentioned it a couple of times, how important setup can be around these circuits, and it is interesting that Netsky is fastest in Sector 1 and Sector 3, because he did admit in the press conference he's not a fan of that middle sector, which won't cost him too much as long as he's in the front. If he's behind someone, though, he might just find it a bit more difficult to overtake if he's not got that same straight line speed.
Yeah, I mean, he could get lucky by being dragged along, and there is the DRS train which could come into effect as well. So if he's in the middle of that, he might be okay, but you really don't want to be relied on someone else to give you some tow down straight. But as I mentioned earlier, just before we started the session, about the full action zones, we covered the pit entry. That is, well, pit entrance. I guess pit exit as well. That's a tricky one there. But you've also got turn 8 and 11 with the heavy braking zones. There's often the scene of overtaking attempts, so the drivers should be ensured that their positions down there are gained fairly. But if you do force a car off track, which can happen, I expect them to return the position when it's safe to do so. If not, the stewards will be busy.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You do see it quite often, cars going a bit wide, and you can get a bit of contact between drivers as well. So hopefully they'll all keep it nice and clean at the moment. Corby did not improve in Sector 1 then. He's just a few hundredths down. Netsky set a session best in the first sector, but only 5 thousandths up on his personal best at the moment, so he's going to need a bit more than that to improve. Corby then with his personal best in that second sector. Still needs a mighty final sector though. We're seeing some quite big gaps at the top of the timing charts, and that is not a mighty final sector so far from Corby. Getting a big snap of oversteer on that racing point as he tries to handle the car around this circuit. I do think he was actually quite a late entry to the league. I think he might have only been confirmed yesterday, so perhaps not too surprising that he hasn't got the setup as nailed on as he would like it to be. Coming round turn 20 and 21 now, I think he realises he made too many mistakes on that lap, dives into the pit lane. Might as well just save a bit of wear in those tyres in case you need them later on. Larkin is on an out lap at the moment. In fact, we'll see what Netsky is doing, because he looks like he's really flying at this moment in time. Purple in the first 2 sectors.
Yeah, that is a very good start to the lap. Purple in the first 2 sectors. You can't get much quicker than that, but can he keep that as he comes through Sector 3, which is a little bit tricky with the car just ahead of him, but I think he didn't bother him at all. 2/10 quicker than Lakitu there, 32.0. We're going to be into the 31s before too much longer, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we're very well. I thought that was going to be a 31, to be perfectly honest. Purple, purple, purple. You are not going to do much better than that, I think it's fair to say. Janil has gone up into 5th place, so he'll be delighted with how that's gone. Samba, well, Dynastics has now gone up into 3rd, sorry, so that's Samba now into 5th. The Williams looking very good once again, hoping obviously to take advantage of Toxic's absence. Khalifa looks like he's improving in both sectors so far, and he now goes up into 4th position. I feel like he really needed that podium last week. He'd had a bit of bad luck at the end of last season, and it sort of carried on to this season, where a 2nd place last time out really showed the form that I think everyone knew he had somewhere within him. Hopefully he'll be able to kick on now for his sake.
Yeah, he definitely had the form in him. He just couldn't, for whatever reason, let it out. I mean, he's been unlucky in several races, as you mentioned, at the back end of last season, which carried on his slump into this, but I think he's got his mojo back, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the podium again this week. But having said that, let's just quickly check out Oliver Vel, who's about to start a lap, so he's in a good position to see what kind of pace is in the McLarens overall, who I happen to know from the pre-race conferences, the McLaren drivers don't talk to each other during the race, so communication not always needed, as the McLarens have good races sometimes, but it would help sometimes if they did. And that's going from Luke's answer, so yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting hearing the different teams' opinions on this. Williams, Dynastics and Samba both saying, yeah, we wish each other luck before the race. We talk afterwards about what went wrong, but in the race, we don't talk whatsoever. And I'm interested to hear your views on this, because you do a lot more racing than me, and I'm going to be honest, when I've done racing, I'm not really thinking about what my teammate's doing. I think they're in their own race. As long as I pay attention to when it says teammate in pit lane, I don't really need to hear too much from you.
I mean, that is a school thing, but I just think it's something different to bounce strategies off. If you're struggling for whatever, it's like, teammate, do you think I can pit now? Can I put the mediums on? Do you think that'll give me advantage later in the race? And it's all tactical, really, why I talk to my teammate, but I'm always trying to find out information about his race as well. But yes, to a point, you are right. It is you versus your teammate, and you shouldn't really be too concerned with what your teammate's up to, but it is always good to have that extra input, especially if, like earlier you may see I had a bit of a shocker. It's always good to try and give your teammate something to aim towards as well, and encouragement if he's in a sweat fest for some points.
Yes, definitely. I'm surprised Ollie Flavel actually came into the pits on that lap, because he looked as though he was definitely going fast enough to beat his teammate and maybe challenge Konzo, Arnold and Scopefielder as well, but obviously feeling like he might be able to do a bit more on a fresh set of tyres. There are 3 minutes 30 remaining in this session, and Dan Murphy's the only driver yet to set a time, and he's the only driver on a hot lap at this moment in time, with that number 14 used in Formula 1 by Fernando Alonso. And can you believe it was just over 10 years ago with that famous race where he got stuck behind Vitaly Petrov and cost Alonso that third world title that I'm sure we all thought he was going to have. Lakitu on a hot lap ahead of him. Now Lakitu could really do with a good comeback this week. It's fair to say Hungary didn't go fantastically for him. He only got 11 points, and we only finished in 11th place, I should say. And that got mentioned in the team's press conference, how Alpha Tauri in the top 3 tiers scored 5 points across all of them, and 2 of them obviously came from Lakitu. And apparently they asked if Dr. Marco was doing much yelling behind closed doors. He said he was a bit too drunk from the champagne from their prospect victory, which is probably a bit good, because we know Helmut Marko does have a bit of an itchy trigger finger. Lakitu will definitely be hoping for better. He'd said, I think, previously that he'd actually done a tiny bit of practice around Abu Dhabi before the Hungarian race. Now's the time for that to show.
Yes, I remember mentioning that last week, so we'll see if that extra practice comes in handy for him, or if it's just something that really is inconsequential. And that's your word of the day, apparently. So, good luck with that one. But yeah, I'm sure he'll do some special things. He's about to go onto a lap, and I think if anyone's going to beat Neski to pole, it will be Lakitu.
Yeah, he backed out on Sector 2 on his last lap, so we didn't really get to see a chance of what he was able to do. And there comes Dan Murphy across the line, 16th position. So his teammate's in 10th and has retired from the session, so we know we're not going to be getting any improvements from him. Corey in the first sector at the moment. We'll check if he improved slightly. He was a personal best by 19 thousandths of a second, so needs to find a tiny bit more in Sector 1, in Sector 2 and Sector 3, and we know he could definitely find a bit more in Sector 2 as he did on his previous run. Again, looking as though there's a bit of oversteer in that car coming out of the low speed corners, so he might have it set up so it's nice and reactive in the high speed corners, just maybe struggling ever so slightly in traction, and you can see there he's actually lost a bit of time, but this is still very close from Corey. Still might be able to improve on his time if possible. Just over a minute remaining, and pretty much everyone out on circuit at the moment, apart from J. Luke, who had that accident earlier, and Scopefielder, who has retired in the pits. See what other times are going. Lakitu is improving on his personal best at this moment in time. I think Lawmans has invalidated his lap. He's actually on an out lap, and no, Corey's decided to slow down. I wonder if he's thinking about going for another lap here, or is he just going to come straight into the pits?
I think he'll probably go for another lap, because he made a mistake, so he's probably just thought, I'll save the tyres, cool them down a bit, and go for another lap. He's got more time to do that as Corey's on a lap now. So yeah, he's gone for another one. But let's see what everyone does as well. Lakitu might do the same thing. He's putting it quite fine though. If anyone else wants to start another lap, they're going to have to, well, get a little bit lucky. I think Lakitu may well be the last person to start another lap, so he's going down to the wire.
Yeah, Arnaud just about making it across the line there. That was actually to set a hot lap, and that puts him in 7th place. I think it was one of the Ferraris up ahead. It was Lukey. They all got across the line in time, so that is the checker flag out then. In this session, it's all closed up all of a sudden. We said there was a big gap at the top earlier. That gap's closed down. There's now 9/10 of a second separated the top 9, whereas earlier I think we had that gap separating the top 4. Lakitu looks like he is improving once again, as is Corey, as is Samba. In fact, Corey has gone faster now in the first and second sectors, but could really do with nailing this final sector if he wants to get himself further up the grid. We've already said this, you really need DRS to overtake around this circuit, and we know how effective DRS trains can be. If you're the third car in that train, you're really going to find it difficult to get any overtaking doing, so he needs to qualify as high up the order as possible. He's running a bit low on his ERS. I wonder if that's just going to cost him out of these final couple of corners as you try and put the hammer down, get all those 900 horses from the Mercedes engine in the back of the racing point onto the tarmac, And it is a slight improvement in the end from Corby. He goes into 4th position. Netsky has invalidated. Lakitu, though, is improving. So there might be a bit of a chance here to see the Alpha Tauri get on pole position.
Yeah, I think if he is going to get pole, he's going to have to be in the 31s, and that's a little bit of a mistake which could cost him. We'll see, but it didn't look good. He had a bit of a sideways motion, a little bit of understeer as he came out of the corner. But let's see what he can do as he crosses the line. Oh, dear.
Ooh, that little bit of a wobble. That little bit of a wobble.
32.013, that's 1,000 slower, and that's a little bit unfair.
Ouch, is all I can say to that one.
It is. It's 1,000th, isn't it?
Yeah.
That wobble cost him. Ouch.
Even a slightly smaller wobble, even just getting a millimetre close to the track limits on any corner on that track might have been enough to get in pole position, but as it is, and he was actually purple in the final sector there as well, so he really pulled it out the bag at that final point of the lap, despite the wobble. Unfortunately for Lakitu, it was not enough to claim pole position, which would have been his 2nd of the season. We have had 3 different pole sitters in the races so far this season. But it was, in the end, it was Netsky who takes pole, Lakitu in 2nd, then Dynastics, Corey, Khalifa, Samba, Arnold, Lorman, Janil, Larkin will all start on old tyres. And then you can see there, Lukey, Schofield, Conzo, Ollie Flavel, the only Thomas, Dan Murphy and J. Luke. He's going to have it all to do, having to recover from a long way down the grid. I get a funny feeling this could be another one of those races that is pretty good. It looks like the top drivers are fairly close, and we've sort of got that unknown quantity now of Corey being up near the top, because we've seen quite often, we've seen Netsky up there, we've seen Lakitu up there, we've seen obviously Dynastics up there, Samba getting closer. These drivers might not have raced with Corey. They might have done in other leagues, but they definitely won't have in this league. It's always interesting when you see a new driver come in, because they want to prove themselves, obviously.
Yeah, he'll want to prove himself, and he's more than capable of doing just that. But before we see any action, we will take this time, as we always do, to thank our wonderful sponsors that help us do what we do and bring you some drivers some prizes at the end of the season. We've got Liam RBS, who's a fellow driver and Twitch stream, and then you have Next Level Racing, who sponsors the winner of the Going Gets Tough award, which basically means that drivers need to attend all press conferences, whether that be pre-race or post-race, or if they're called to the drivers one themselves as an individual. And you've got Vespertine, who I think I'm getting better at saying it, so I've never had any complaints from them. But yeah, there's 3 sponsors, so thank you, sponsors. But I'm looking forward to this race, especially after that 1,000th between pole. But I noticed that there was very minimal gaps from position to position. There'd be a bit of a gap between like 2nd and 3rd, but 3rd and 4th were close together, and 5th and 6th, and so on and so on. So it was very, very consistently close. Just a shame there was a bit of a gap between 1st and 3rd.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of that was down to we saw a lot of drivers didn't get 3 clean runs in. That's what everyone usually aims for in a qualifying session. Some of the shorter tracks, obviously, like Austria, perhaps Monaco and Monza as well, you can get a 4th run in. Normally they go for 3 clean runs. We saw Netsky pull into the pits on a run, Lakitu, Dynastics, Corey. All the top 4 did, probably loads more further down the order as well. So that could play a bit of a part as well, just the consistency that some of the drivers have. Because a few drivers did mention in the pre-race interviews that they don't think their pace is too bad around here, but their consistency perhaps is not up there where we'd like to be. I think it was Samba who said, I feel fairly comfortable with my pace, it's just for consistency I need to practice around here. Whereas Conzo said, I feel like I'm fairly consistent, I've just not quite got the pace. So maybe we'll see Samba be quick, pick up a few penalties, or possibly drop down the order. We might see Conzo try and sneak up the order. He'll definitely try and sneak up the order in the first couple of laps. He's starting on the soft tyres outside the top 10, as is the only Thomas and Dan Murphy. J. Luke, Ollie Flavel, and the 6th row of Lukey and Schofield are on the mediums. And of course, we knew the top 10 were on a set of the used soft tyres. And let's not forget, as well as compulsory 2-stop, top 12 drivers will score points. Whoever gets the fastest lap in the top 10 will score themselves some points, and whoever gets the fastest lap outside the top 10 will also score themselves some points. And that's how Lawman's got his first point of the season last time around. He'll be hoping for a bit better. This is a good chance for Lawman's to get his first top 10 finish, shall we say, starting in 8th position. He'll be hoping for a good race.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think one of the strongest qualifyings I've seen from him of recent memory. If I'm not mistaken on that, I'm sure if I am, you'll tell me. But yeah, he's definitely well placed to capitalise on any sort of madness that goes on around him. And we know sometimes drivers get a little too close together, and we saw that last week. So yeah, we will see exactly what happens over the next 28 laps. But this could be very special indeed.
Yes, 28 laps, 588 corners, and I'm sure someone will correct me if I've got that wrong. And hopefully 2 pit stops from every single driver. We don't want the heartbreak of someone realising they're going to get disqualified at the end as well. Netsky again on pole position. Lakitu in second. Dynastics in third. This is going to be very interesting indeed. Who's going to get the best run down towards turn 1 as we just wait for the lights to start coming on here at the Marina circuit. And there they come. We've got 5 lights. And we're underway. Now, what are the starts like? It seems like a pretty decent start from Netsky, just about managing to stay ahead of Lakitu from now. Dynastics trying to get involved in that as well. There's a bit of a squeeze there with Samba in the background, and that's allowed Khalifa to get all the way around the outside of Corey at turn 2, and he holds on to that position. So Khalifa doing very well in these first laps as well. Everyone through the first few corners cleanly as we head down to the first real braking zone of this circuit, and you saw a few cars squirming in the background, and again everyone nice and clean as they come round the hairpin at the moment. But it's still Netsky in the lead, then Lakitu, Dynastics, Khalifa, Corey, Arnold, Samba, Janel, Lormans, Larkin. Your top 10 at this moment in time. You'll get the position changes up, a few drivers moving up and down, but only one place at the moment. You can see the slipstreaming and the drafting and the overtaking already trying to begin at this moment in time. Scopefielder thinking about a move there on Lukey. Oh, he's made a bit of contact there, and that's going to give big contact in the background. I think that's the only Toma who might be missing part of his front wing as well, and I think Konzo might also have got some damage. It all just got a bit squeezed together towards the back of the field. Thankfully for them, they're able to carry on as a bit more front wing goes pinging its way off there. I think we'll be seeing a few pit stops at the end of this first lap. It was a clean first few corners. I think once they had to start testing the brakes, they realised they were perhaps not as warmed up as they would have liked to be. But we're approaching the end of lap 1. No change between the top 3 drivers then. Netsky, Lakitu and Dynastics. And then Khalifa got a fantastic start. He's up in to 4th position.
Yeah, there's definitely damaged Konzo and Scottfield that have damaged wings, so I'm pretty sure they'll both be boxing, switch up the strategy as Scottfield couldn't struggle to stay on the track. But no, he's going to go around again. He's got less damage than Konzo did, so I'm not surprised Konzo's in. But I guess being on the mediums, he thought, if I can handle this damage, then I might as well carry on for a bit. But Konzo on the softs, definitely right call to come in, fix the wing, change the strategy, put on the hards and go deep in, because don't forget you need to switch them to mediums or softs later in the race.
Ooh, Dan Murphy there getting very close actually to the back of J-Luke, who's had a pretty decent start actually on the mediums, taking advantage of the incidents up ahead of him. And I can sort of see, actually J-Luke's got big damage as well. I can see why Scopefield has stayed out a bit more. I always think as long as you've got both your end plates, you're not in too bad of a situation. But I imagine J-Luke's just trying to make these mediums last a bit longer, but it might be worth him coming in, putting on another set of mediums if he has them, of course, and then going for the softs at the end. We'll have to wait and see, because if you picked for softer tyre strategy in qualifying, you're only going to have one set of mediums, and that is perhaps why J-Luke is deciding to stay out a bit longer. Lormans, we said he needed a good race. Perhaps we put a bit of a commentator's curse on him as he's dropped 2 places. And he's not going too well for the other racing point of Corey. Perhaps just needed to tame himself on the track limits ever so slightly. That is very early to be picking up a 3-second penalty before we've even got to the end of lap 2.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Toma and J-Luke were going side by side around the just into the hotel section, and Toma squeezes his way through. Nice move from the hat. I didn't see any contact, just good hard elbows out past that. And J-Luke follows him round, so no harm done, no damage on the TAS system, which tells us everything. So yeah, J-Luke is down to P15.
Yeah, J-Luke down to P15 then at the moment. With that front wing damage, I wonder how long he'll be able to go on for in this race. Judging by what we know about the tyres, we've got the soft tyres being able to last 12 laps. So if you can just stretch out another couple of laps on the mediums, you should be fine to then go soft towards the end of the race. They will be far past their best, though, by the time we get to the end of that race. And look at the DRS train we have got behind Netski at the moment, all the way down to XL Larkin, and I think Lawmans did actually have it on that lap as well, so you could pretty much say almost all the way down to Dan Murphy had DRS. Now might get a bit more difficult for Lawmans because Lukey, on those medium tyres, he'll have got them up to temperature. I'm not sure if Lawmans will have DRS this time around. He did just get within range, but he had a bit of a bad exit coming out of 9 and 10, and this is going to give Lukey a fantastic opportunity. He's going to go round the outside. Can he get it done on the brakes? He can indeed. That is the McLaren up into 10th place. It looks as though Arnaud has been following the lines that Corby has been setting. He's also picked up a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, well, he is right behind him on track, so I'm pretty sure he could be copying his lines. And now we'll know not to do that again, because that's giving you 3 seconds. You don't usually see that from Ireland this early in a race.
Yeah, he's not done too bad so far this season, has Arnaud. We'll just quickly get up his performances so far this year. He had a 5th place in Bahrain as actually Corby into the pits. That is very early. Perhaps trying something different. This compulsory 2-stop does allow you to do that. So Corey into the pits, and I imagine now this is going to be medium towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it definitely gives him a lot of options though, medium, and if there's a safety car later in the race you could go back on the softs if you want to, but there's definitely an awful lot of wiggle room there, but mediums for now is the best call.
Yeah, mediums for now, a pretty good call from him, and of course, he's in plenty of free air, so perhaps in that DRS train that we were mentioning at the front of the field, that might have been one of the best things to do. XL Larkin here is going to take advantage of that DRS on the Red Bull of Janil, who didn't make it the easiest heading down towards turn 8 there, but XL Larkin gets that position done, but there's another detection point and there's another DRS zone coming up, so if Janil gets a good enough exit, and it doesn't look like he's got the best there, to be perfectly honest, he's a long way behind Larkin, so I think the Renault driver will have done just enough to stay ahead for now. The top 3 drivers seem to be getting away ever so slightly. There's only a second between them, and then it is nearly 2 seconds by the time you are heading back to Khalifa. Wouldn't be surprising, therefore, if we see Arnaud or Samba maybe think, I can go a bit quicker than this, I might follow Corby into the pits.
Yeah, I mean, Khalifa might come in as well, because we all know he loves the undercut, so he might be thinking, this isn't working for me, I'm going to switch to mediums now, as the 3 leaders will probably go on for another lap. But will Khalifa go in? No, he doesn't want to do the undercut this early or this week, so that shows what we know, doesn't it? Samba does though. Samba goes in,
and so Janil as well. So Samba and Janil both into the pits here, are going on to, well, we'll see what tyres they go on to, because I do, thinking about it, you can make the medium soft work if you are nice and careful on the medium tyres, but I think they are both going to go, obviously, for this second stint on the mediums, then go for the softs later on, and perhaps give yourself a chance of setting the fastest lap of the race. You would expect both of them to come out behind Corby with the power of the undercut, and that is exactly what happened. So Samba's got a tiny bit of free air before he catches up to the back of Corby. Likewise, Janil onto the back of the Williams. We've still got every single car running in this race, and it's starting to get very close up in front. Netski holding on at the moment from Lakita, who's just going to try and, I'm sure, nail the exit out of turn 10. But this is the problem with this circuit. The chicanes sort of make it a bit awkward, and you don't get the best exit, and you can see, even with the DRS, it's very tricky into turn 11 unless the car in front of you makes a mistake, a bit like what we saw Lawmans do earlier.
Yeah, definitely. Even if you nail your exit, you need to sort of hope that the car in front or behind you has a bit of an error in them at that position, so you could really capitalise on it. But if you both get your line completely right, then there's very little you can actually do about it, unless you're on fresher tyres. You could probably send it a little bit towards the end of the race, but now you just follow the guy in front and try and force him into a mistake. As Lakitu thinks, I've had enough of these tyres, time for the undercut for him.
Yes, I was quickly looking at the test system. He did seem to have about 2 or 3% more tyre wear than the 2 drivers ahead of him, so he's going for the undercut here. That probably only related to about half a lap difference in terms of how fresher they felt. Here he comes then into the pits on a set of mediums. Didn't get held up in the pits, which is already a risk when this many drivers come into the pits. We've only now got 4 drivers who started on the softs, still on the soft tyres, and 2 of them, of course, started outside the top 10, so they'll have been much fresher than everyone else. Where is Corby going to come out relatively Lakitu on the exit? He's still behind him, so that is good news then for the Alpha Tauri, holding off Corby This might get a bit interesting, therefore, for Dynastics, because he was obviously behind Lakitu. He's going to lose time on this lap. He might find himself behind the racing point all of a sudden.
Yeah, he could well do, but in all that, Khalifa did pit for his attempt at the undercut, so I was just a lap early on the call there, so not too bad for me considering. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a tall order for Dynastics at the moment. He's going to lose a lot of places when he comes in, as will Netsky, of course, because they're both on softs. Dan Murphy's on softs as well, as is Toma, but everyone else has done at least one stop. I say that because usually someone's had a mare on the first one and knocked off a wing, but as it is, just the one stop for everyone but the top 6.
Yeah, definitely. Drivers still hanging on at the moment. Dan Murphy actually getting back past Olive Lavelle, which is very impressive on those soft tyres. Clearly, after being new at the start of the race, they've still got themselves a bit of pace. As here we go, Netsky and Dynastics, the top 2 drivers coming into the pits for top 2 drivers in the championship as well. It is mediums going on Netsky's car, and I'm almost certain it will be mediums on Dynastics as well. So that is Luke here. Circuit he's won at before. The circuit he says he doesn't like, taking the lead of this race. Netsky obviously still coming out ahead of Dynastics. Arnold has picked up another penalty. Where is Lakitu relative to all these guys? He's stuck ever so slightly behind J. Luke, but I don't think that's going to make any difference. He is now in the net lead of this race. He has got himself ahead of J. Luke, and Corby did jump Dynastics as well, so the undercut for Corby, perhaps not as powerful as you'd expect. The undercut for Lakitu, definitely working on Netsky. He's now about 1.4 seconds ahead.
Yeah, I think that's just the timing of the undercut. If you do it too early, it doesn't really work. Whereas if you do it a couple of laps later, still undercut the guys around you, you can definitely benefit, as we've just seen there. So that could spice up the last stops of the race very much with the timing of them.
Yeah, unfortunately for Corey, I don't think he's benefited too much there, because Dynastics has just used the DRS to sail past him, despite the racing point having DRS. So that Williams looking pretty nippy in a straight line, similar to how they used to be at the start of the hybrid era, where they were always known for being pretty quick in a straight. Netsky here, J. Luke is just a sitting duck with that front wing damage, and Dynastics, he's going to have to be really careful here, because this final sector, it is very tricky to get an overtake done. J. Luke's clipping on his ERS at the moment. I wonder if Dynastics is going to think about ascend. He is thinking about ascend. That's very late on the brakes. They've made contact, and now Corby's trying to get himself involved in all this all of a sudden. J. Luke's got himself a penalty. Samba, out of nowhere, trying to dance his way up the inside. All sorts of things going off here. It's like trying to get out of a supermarket car park all of a sudden at this point in the circuit. There's cars all over the place. J. Luke, I don't think I've ever seen a driver drop 9 places in the space of 1 lap without coming into the pits.
Yeah, the social distancing, lads, come on. One at a time. But no, that's definitely one that probably could be looked at, because it was a little bit late, even for a good late breaker such as the driver that made it. It's definitely questionable, but we saw penalties last week for a similar incident, so I'm sure the stewards will be looking at that one as J. Luke loses another place to Larkin.
Yeah, it's really not working for him at the moment on those mediums. I can see why Dynastics sort of went for that move into turn 17, because to be honest, if I was stuck behind someone who I knew was on all the tyres, you can't really pass in that final sector. Your last opportunity is into 17 if the driver ahead makes a slight mistake. J. Luke didn't. Dynastics 40 just have the grip on the tyres, and thankfully for Dynastics, I think they both avoided getting any more damage in that, so that probably means any steward's inquiry is unlikely to happen. Lakitu has got himself now ahead of the only Toma. He's doing exactly what he needs to on those medium tyres. He's now 2.6 seconds ahead of Netsky, just showing what happens if you come out in free air versus if you come out in traffic.
Yeah, definitely does. Free air is everything around here, especially in the twisty sections, because the dirty air you're generating behind you is really going to hamper the car behind. As I'm just looking through the penalties and warnings, there's quite a lot early on, as we saw. Corey got one very early. Arnold's now on 6 seconds, and he's a warning away from getting some more. J. Luke's having a nightmare with track limits as well, but some of that we just saw in that sensational sequence where he lost about 1,000 places in about 4 corners. So it's not going quite as the plan for him at the moment, but I'm sure he could come back into it later. But
yeah, it's fair to say. Yeah, it's fair to say the Alfa Romeo team have had a bit of a nightmare with track limits. Maybe they're going for the more rallycross that you see around Abu Dhabi sometimes. Arnaud getting very close to the back of Samba, who did nearly gain something earlier. And to be honest, Corey seems to have lost a lot of time in all that incident. I know it was a bit of an innocent party in it and just arrived on the scene. He's now all of a sudden 2 seconds behind Dynastics. He might have some defending to do from Samba and Arnaud as well. And if you look at his ERS, he's on 13%, so that's going to drop below 10% very shortly. That means the red flashing light is going to come on. And if Samba can just get a bit closer out of turn 10, you do wonder if he'd be able to have a go on the racing point into this chicane.
Yeah, I'm sure he can get closer. Look at this, he's getting closer all the time. There's definitely ERS clipping there, as you rightly point out, but J-Luke did come in and switch his tyres to something else, so we'll see if that can get him back forwards in the latter stages of the race. But so far, Luke is probably enjoying being in front of his teammate at the moment in clean air. But the real battle is obviously Lakito and Netski, as it usually tends to be, as Ollie Flavel is in before he...
Yeah, Ollie Flavel then coming into the pits. Dynastics moving up, obviously, as Ollie Flavel has come into the pits. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3, and I think, unfortunately, that is J-Luke, who is mowing one of the tiny bits of grass. You don't see a lot of grass, actually, at the Yas Marina circuit. I think, unfortunately for him, he's completely cooked his hard tyres already. And once you get these Pirellis a bit hot, you've got to be very careful all of a sudden. So last week it was Janil who had a bit of a nightmare, and J-Luke obviously ended up retiring after an incident with Janil. This time it looks like J-Luke could be in for a bit of a lonely race at the back of the field. And I am surprised he went for the hard tyres, if I'm being honest.
I'm not, considering how badly he was doing on the mediums. By the same token, yeah, maybe whack on some fresh mediums, maybe have better luck with less fuel, but in any event, he's not enjoying his time today, but he's still soldiering on, as you want to do in this competitive league. You never know when the guys around you are going to have an incident. Talking to Whit, Schofield is lining up Conzo for a move, and that is pretty comfortable, in all fairness. Like, didn't even need the DRS to do that.
Yeah, the extra traction, I think, coming out of the hairpin, just using a bit of ERS, and Conzo realising there's not a lot of points of me holding you up at this moment in time, mate. And there we go, Schofielder is up into 15th position. All these drivers, it might look like they're a long way off now. They put a fresh set of soft tyres on towards the end and get that extra fastest lap point. That could be all important at the end of the season. Let's not forget, there's plenty more racing to go after tonight as Lukey comes into the pit. So that is everyone having made their first pit stop. Let's not forget there are still 6 races left after this evening over the next 6 weeks. We've got Brazil, Azerbaijan, Great Britain, Vietnam, Mexico, and ending at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. We'll see where Lukey comes out of the pits then relative to his teammate Ollie Flavel. I think he's probably going to be just about behind at this moment in time. Ollie is going to be in 12th position and Lukey in 13th, so the undercut working for the Jersey driver on his teammate, as they're now going to be battling for that final points position. Out in front though, it is Lakito in the Alpha Tauri, recovering pretty well from last week as Lukey picks up a penalty very quickly after coming out of the pits. Lakito with a 2.3 second lead at this moment in time. Those top 3 have really split out after the pit stop period.
Yeah, they certainly have, and it just goes to show you what clean air can do, as we were talking about a few laps ago. Just look at the leaders. They've just sort of have 2 or 3 seconds around them, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then 4 has a train of about 7 cars behind him, so good luck, Corey.
Yeah, I hope he's been practising his defending around this circuit then, as there's a bit of swap between the two McLarens. I said they'd be battling, and that is Lukey working his way past Ollie Flavel through 11, 12 and 13. He is now up into 12th place, into the points, but with that penalty, I did notice Corey had picked up another penalty. Maybe just pitting that lap earlier, a lot earlier than any of us, I think it's fair to say, we're expecting. Maybe just costing him ever so slightly, or perhaps with his setup, which looked a bit oversteering in qualifying, if I'm being honest. Though looking at his tyre wear, he's doing about the same as Samba at the moment, so perhaps not cooking the Vias as much as I might have thought. We are on to lap 12 of this race. We've still got all 17 drivers in, which is great to see, and it looks like we are going to have one heck of a battle, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th over the next few laps. And again, Any of these drivers that have got an extra set of the medium tyres might think of pitting a bit early just to get themselves that free air, because you can see from Corey, it is possible to defend around here.
Yeah, it's more than possible to defend around most tracks, but specifically here, you don't have many opportunities of overtaking, even though we're having a great race. There's not many overtaking opportunities as Khalifa sends it down the inside of Arnold, who doesn't give up the position and holds him off. But there you go, Khalifa comes straight back on the DRS. They both had DRS though, but Khalifa just got a better exit and is in P6.
Yeah, and Samba managing to work his way just straight around the outside as well. He must have got a very good exit out of that 8, 9, 10 chicane, because he was a long way behind Corey coming out of the hairpin. I was going to say, I wonder if that's costing him all of a sudden. So Samba's up into 4th. And talking of costing people, our race leader has got himself a 3-second time penalty. So Netsky has kept it clean penalty-wise at this moment in time. I'll just check how many warnings Netsky has got at this moment in time. He has actually got 2 warnings as well, so he could very easily pick up a penalty, as could Dynastics, whether Samba has kept it nice and clean, so doesn't look like he'll gain anything on penalties at this moment in time, even if Dynastic and Netsky do pick up a penalty. But if they pick up a couple, you never know whether Samba could maybe not finish in 4th place, because I imagine he's a bit fed up of that at this moment in time, as I think Ollie Flavel has had a spin out of the final corner, and that is the only Thomas who is now up into 13th position. He said he wanted points. He's only 1 place off it at this moment in time.
Yes, he is. He's battling away, and that is Ollie Flavel. Could be out of the... No, he's held that out of the wall, but that has not done his tyres any good at all. He may have to come in and change them again. But I was about to say, at the moment, there's no pressure for Lakitu, but one more penalty to any of those drivers up front, plus a late safety car, which is always possible, as we very leads. Oh, that's J. Luke out of the race. He's done exactly the same as I saw Ollie do, but he just couldn't hold it out the wall, and that is a safety car, as if by magic.
That is a safety car. It'd be a bit tough for the mediums, but they could make it from this moment in time, given the fact, of course, that you'll be spending a few laps behind the safety car. Looking at the tyre wear at the moment, we'll take, for example, Lakitu's, they're all less than 30%. You double that to less than 60% in 12 laps, plus they'll have less fuel. I think we'll be seeing a few drivers maybe think about, if they have got a second set of medium tyres, coming into the pits this time around, or maybe even just chucking a set of hards on. Lakitu is coming in. In fact, he nearly understeered out of the pit entry there. That would have been a bit tricky indeed. Netsky and Dynastic, it was mentioned in the stewards, there's a bit of awkward camber on it all of a sudden. I think we are seeing a few drivers coming to the pits. Samba, I think he might have backed off ever so slightly to avoid the double stack, but they have been warned about that. They can't do it too much. And after doing all that, he's picked up a 5-second penalty in the pit lane, so it doesn't matter that he's got any warnings now. He will get that added on to his race time. We are seeing everyone I reckon who has got a spare set of the mediums, surely now they've got to go onto them towards the end.
Yeah, you would think so. It's a great call to, as you were saying, it was a great call to pick out. You could probably get the mediums to the end with the less fuel, few laps behind the safety car, 2 or 3, depending on how many people pit and when they do, whether you can get back in sequence or not. But yeah, you see Schofield at the back is also switching to new softs, so that's obviously for fastest lap. Ollie Flavel's on the hards now. Lawman's on the softs, so he's obviously got half an hour fastest lap, but also if he can push it enough, he could get into the points legit. So this race is far from over, but it is very, very interesting now.
Yes, what is very interesting, especially, is we've got a couple of drivers who have decided that they have taken a chance of there maybe being another safety car in this race, and they fancy making their second pit stop at a different time. Konzo has now got himself up into 11th, but the only Thomas is into 4th position at the moment. I think this is the highest he's been all season. He'll be hoping, surely, that there's maybe another incident and he can make a pit stop. And this could be a bit difficult for Corey, Samba and Khalifa. They're going to need to get past him pretty quickly, but his tyres aren't that old at the moment, so they shouldn't struggle too much with getting heat into them underneath the safety car.
No, they should be more than fine with that, but you don't want to excessively wear them just behind the safety car to try and get an advantage on your competitors, because that will just hamper you tenfold later. So just keep doing what you're doing now, but keep the heat in, but not overly so. And we'll see what happens when the safety car comes in. Who can react the quickest?
Yeah, it looks like we are almost certainly going to get another lap under the safety car. Schofield quite a long way off the back of the field. I'm not sure whether he's just tootling around at the moment, thinking maybe these softs aren't going to last if I floor it under the safety car at this moment in time. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sure they're going to last anyway, even if you do take it nice and slow at the moment. I'm not sure why Lawmans and Schofield went for that. Lukey and Konzo are now coming into the pits. This is a bit interesting from both of these drivers. I imagine this is sets of medium tyres, and I think I see what Lukey's done all of a sudden. He's put that set of mediums that I think he was just on back on again. He's done the one lap that you have to do on a different type of tyre.
That could be a genius move from the man in currently P16, but that's a very good idea. See, some people don't have that luxury and they'll have to pit again, I think, so that's very good. Yeah,
that is very smart indeed. I'm just wondering, maybe that's why Dan Murphy started on the soft tyres, so that doesn't explain why he went on the hards. That's probably, though, why Ollie Flavel, Lukey's teammate, went on the hards, and you'd imagine now he's committed to that strategy, because if he comes into the pits on this lap to put on another set of mediums, he is going to be a long way off the back of the field. So one to watch there with Lukey, because his tyres are, of course, slightly more worn than some of those ahead of it. Well, all of those ahead of him, apart from the only Thomas at this moment in time, who does have to make another stop. He is the only driver who will be coming into the pits once more, guaranteed. So he's out of place at this moment in time, unless he decides to go for a glory run and just, see if he can finish on the podium. I wouldn't blame him, really. He'll get no points for it, but I can't say I'd blame him if he goes for that.
No, I wouldn't blame him either, but there's a lot of racing still to go, as we are prepared to go racing again. Safety car in this lap, which effectively means Lakitu could pick when he wants to go. It wouldn't be yet, because the safety car is way too close. But just keep working those tyres, boys. Keep working those tyres, and we'll see when Lakitu decides to go. We'll know about it.
Yeah, we will indeed. If I was a betting man, I'd go somewhere either coming out of turn 19 or coming out of turn 20. You don't really need to leave it until 21, because it's not a long enough run to really get a slipstream here. And this is where that 3-second penalty that he's got, that the only Thomas has got, the 9 seconds that Corey's got, and the other penalties all the way down the field, just become that little bit more costly, because the race has basically halved. You've gone from a 28-lap race to a 13-lap race, pretty much, with most of the drivers all on the same set of tyres. It is like an F2 sprint race all of a sudden here at Abu Dhabi, and now Lakitu has decided to go for it. Lawmans has picked up a penalty all of a sudden. In fact, Lawmans has gone very wide indeed. There's all sorts of position changes and chaos happening in the background, so he's not had the best restart. We are back to green flag racing though here at One Hull Pinnacle tier for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Lakitu still in this lead of this race. Netsky and Dynastics getting a bit of jump on the only Tomo. I'm sure they've been hoping to sort of stay in contact with them a bit longer. Corey in 5th. Samba trying to look for a way past, as the Haas driver does get a bit of a penalty there as he tries to push his way up, perhaps not getting the heat into those tyres that he'd have been hoping for. Khalifa in 7th. Larkin going round the outside of Arnaud, who has picked up damage in all of that. I wonder if Arnaud made a bit of contact with Lawmans. We did see the Racing Point drop behind the safety car and get himself a penalty as Schofield gets past Ollie Flavel using those soft tyres. I wonder if Lawmans and Arnaud just made a bit of contact there as the Alfa Romeo drops another place. It was mentioned in the team's press conference it was a bad race for them last time out. They're all in the bottom half of the championship. Doesn't look like they'll be getting any points this time at all.
No, it's a shocking restart there. In terms of productivity, not that he's drove badly, just had a bit of a collision with another car. His wings come off and he's gone tumbling down the order. But I was watching the move between Janel and the people who were battling before that, and he easily got past Arnold with the broken wing, who'd probably be in, and I don't know what he's going to put on. Maybe soft. I don't know what he's got left. So this is going to be a very tricky call for Arnold now, but he'll keep going, and I'm sure he'll keep trying to get a point or two. But for now, he's going to be running last.
Yeah, definitely. It does make me think this game could do with introducing an option where it just says keep the same tyres, as in I don't want to change them, just leave them on the car. But unfortunately, you do have to change the set of tyres, because I imagine the 2-lap old mediums that he's on are the ones that he'd want to be on at the end of this race at this moment in time. Corey and Samba have worked their way past the only Thomas, and it is now the Khalifa's turn to try and get his way past. He's thinking about a move at the hairpin. The Haas driver has seen him coming. I'm not sure that was the wisest of moves from Khalifa. He didn't get too bad of an exit though, but Larkin is not too far behind him at this moment in time. They're all using their ERS to try and defend and attack in equal measure, and Thomas just about stays ahead for now, and Khalifa and Larkin really closing up to the back of him. Dan Murphy not doing too bad on those hard tyres. You'd expect Janelle, Lormans and Schofielder to be a bit more over the back of him at this moment in time, and in fact it is the Red Bull driver who's coming under a bit of pressure from Lormans, who still wants those first points of course, and Khalifa now round the outside of the only Thomas. He's up into 6th. He's going to have to set after those top few drivers, because while we've been talking, Netsky and Dynastics have picked up penalties as well. You never know here. Khalifa could. He's definitely got a chance of a podium if he can work his way past Samba and Corey.
Yeah, he can't be held up there for much longer though, otherwise the chances of a podium may well go. But right now, he's in a promising position. He's just got to keep chipping away at the gap to Samba, and then we'll see what happens as DRS is re-enabled after the safety car period. So this is not the best time for Khalifa. He's nowhere near anyone to get the DRS, but you never know what happens. Those in front, as you say, do have plenty of penalties, and there's only a few drivers. Khalifa, Larkin, Dan Murphy, Janel and Schofield are the ones without penalties at this stage, but now I've said that, one of them picked one up and now I look like an idiot.
That's usually how it works. The commentator's curse always strikes when it comes to penalties. It seems Larkin will just be hoping for a clean overtake at this moment in time, and it looks like he's going to get it here on the Haas of the only Thomas, who thinks very briefly about defending, realises it is a futile task, and there we go. That is Larkin up into 7th position. Janelle and Dan Murphy battling for 9th and 10th at this moment in time. Janelle with a very late move there. Bit of a chop almost across Dan Murphy. Gets away with it though. Lormans finds himself going a long way off the circuit there, and that's going to give Schofielder a fantastic chance. Both of these drivers do have the DRS. Is Schofielder going to be able to go down the inside into the chicane here at turn 11 and 12? Just can't get enough of his car alongside, and that is the Racing Point staying in 11th place. While all that was going on, our race leader managed to pick himself up another penalty. So as it stands at the moment, he would be dropping behind Netsky and Dynastics, and it's going to be hard to escape when they're on the same age of tyres and they're in your DRS zone.
Yeah, that just got a little bit more tricky with those lack of positions. They're just going to be trading places for a few laps, and that is Lormans tapping the back of Dan Murphy there, who was forced into another penalty. I don't know if that's because of the contact or what, but that's another penalty there, and Lormans drops to B12.
Yes, if it was because of the penalty, well, if it was because of a contact that he got the penalty, I should say, he might have a chance. Oh, Khalifa's off! Well, talking of the commentator's curse, we said Khalifa with no penalties was in a great position. He's got big front wing damage, a possible podium. Looks like it's going to be a pointless race unless he can get back to the pit and get that fastest lap point. Janelle has been re-overtaken by Dan Murphy, so Red Bull having a bit of a disastrous lap here. All of a sudden, Schofield are trying to get himself involved in this. They've all got DRS on the back of the only Thomas. We're going to go nearly 3 wide, nearly 4 wide into the chicane here. The Red Bull comes out on top. Dan Murphy just about stays in 8th place. The Haas driver, I think, is trying to just stay out of the way of all this. It's a bit like what we saw earlier behind J-Luke. All of a sudden, now Lormans has got ahead of Schofielder. Janelle's trying to defend from Dan Murphy, who's really enjoying those hard tyres at this moment in time. He makes contact, in fact. Janelle's going to have to go all the way over the chicane. You're definitely getting a time penalty for that. Lormans has gone off on track. I feel like I need about 6 different camera angles here, Codemasters, to show me everything that is going on. All of a sudden, Janelle's got himself a penalty. Dan Murphy's got away with that. I think Lormans might have picked up a penalty as well. We'll just see quickly if any of the drivers have picked up any damage, because it was all kicking off then.
It was, and I think Khalifa's got a broken wing, so that's why he's struggling for pace right now. I think he's going to have to come in and put the softs on, see if he can get fastest outside the top 10. But it is definitely all happening now, and we do need more camera angles. Like, I think we should be able to switch to Helicam whenever we want, and have another couple of slightly exterior on boards or whatever, but we need more camera angles, damn it, or more people to watch, I don't know. But in any event, this is a sensational battle.
Yes, it is indeed. I mean, I did go for the broadcast camera, and for some reason it decided to show me a lovely picturesque shot of a chicane where none of the cars were, which was a bit annoying. Janelle does have a tiny bit of front wing damage, as does Scopefielder, but nowhere near enough for them to consider pitting, especially when you consider Scopefielder has got an excellent run here on the Haas of the only Thomas. They're both running out of ERS. The difference is the Ferrari has for DRS. He's got the inside line. The Haas driver, fair play to him. He's not giving up. He's just clonked that curb a bit hard on the exit, so he then loses that position, and now Konzo's involved all of this all of a sudden. It's been a good recovery from Konzo so far, and he might Mose, the only Thomas there, I don't think was paying any attention to behind him. He was too busy focused on Scopefielder, and it's perhaps a good job that Konzo lifted off ever so slightly, otherwise that could have been a massive crash on the back straight.
Yeah, that would have definitely probably triggered some sort of safety car. His bodywork would have been flying everywhere, but not for the evasiveness of Konzo there, so that was well played for him. There wouldn't be any malice in that, of course. It's just you're not focused on behind when you're going into a braking zone, and unfortunately they very nearly came together. But Larkin is in a great position right now. We said this about Khalifa earlier. Well, let's hope lightning doesn't strike twice, as Khalifa now has his first penalty, but he's pushing for fastest lap, and Tom and Lawmans are into the pits. They're going to have a bash of fastest lap as well, and this is all getting very, very don't know where to look all of a sudden.
Yeah, who said Abu Dhabi doesn't produce good racing and can be a bit boring? It's been absolutely fantastic so far. All of a sudden, you've still got the front three drivers that have been almost inseparable since the start of the race early, Lakitu, Netski and Dynastics, and whereas these three are a bit inseparable in the race, they will be separating from everyone else in the championship as things stand at the moment. I believe it would still be Netski in the lead of the championship at this moment in time. Lakitu would still, I think he'd still hang on to second place, and Dynastics would be in third place, but they'll be pulling away from Toxic, who's not here obviously, and Samba, who looks as though he might be just cursed to finishing in fourth position at the moment. He finished there in Bahrain, he finished there in Hungary. Unless he can catch up to the back, well, he's got that 5-second penalty, so unless some of those drivers ahead of him start picking up a few more penalties and he can catch up a bit more, he is going to struggle, because at this moment in time, actually, Larkin might be able to get ahead of him. So just looking at the penalties, Larkin is currently on for fourth position. That would not be bad whatsoever.
Yeah, I was just doing some maths, as Larkin's the only one out there, touch wood, hope I don't jinx him, he's the only one out there that's completely clean at this stage with no penalties, so he's in a great position, and I'm just trying to work out where he could finish if the race ended now. With the penalties, he would definitely be on for fourth, but if he could find a couple of seconds, he could be pushing for a podium, as the leader has 6 seconds, so at the moment Netsky would be the winner of the race. This is, you never know who's going to win this until the checkered flag, as Arnold gets another one, and he's having a miserable afternoon all of a sudden. It started off a little bit bad and it's just got worse. Unfortunate for him, but I'm sure he'll come back next week, and as I said, it's not quite over yet, but for those that are 13th and down, not really the best place for them. Lawman's with another one there. It's coming down to the wire, this one.
Yes, Dan Murphy and Janelle there, we're going to say Dan doing very well to hold on. He's got a bit too close to the Red Bull driver. He's made contact with Janelle, who has lost his end plate all of a sudden. And look at Konzo, he had damage on lap 1. He was way down the back of the field. He's in 8th place all of a sudden. This is turning out to be a very good race from the Renault boys, and Dan Murphy in 7th on those hard tyres. That is not looking like the worst decision in the world. You have got the battle. You've got the battle for the lead of the race, Luke, P2, Netsky and Dynastics. You've got this battle that we're seeing between Dan Murphy, Konzo, Janelle, Lukey and Ollie Flavel. Not too far off that. You've got the soft tyre battle for the fastest lap point outside the top 10. Pick and choose, ladies and gentlemen. Pick and choose what action you want to see at this moment in time. Apparently Samba actually got a tap into the pit lane. If that's the case, and that's what made him speed into the pit lane, he might just get it removed. So we'll have to wait and see. We're just getting that information from Tom Robbo in the chat, so we'll find out obviously next week after all the stewards' inquiries whether that was the case. So maybe, just maybe, all is not lost for Samba yet. Even so, even if each penalty doesn't get removed, at the moment, that's a net 2nd and 6th for Williams. That is a very good performance indeed. Them and Mercedes do look like the teams to watch this season in the Constructors.
They do. But I'm just looking for fastest lap outside the top 10 at the moment, as Arnold's out of the race. That in the pit lane, or has he binned it somewhere? I can't tell at the moment. Oh yeah, it's the pit lane. Yeah. Anyway, back as you were, I'm just looking at the fastest lap outside the top 10, and I believe at the moment it would go to Khalifa.
Yes, Khalifa's nearly got the fastest lap overall. In fact, Lakitu's got that in the top 10 at the moment, and you'd imagine, unless we see a few retirements inside the top 10, that might do it. And that is another warning for Lakitu. That is now 9 seconds. All of a sudden, he has got to keep it careful. That's only a net 3 seconds ahead of Larkin all of a sudden. This is not going well for Lakitu to keep it on track. And of course, Netski, he knows he's not got to go for the move. He's just got to be careful and use the DRS to defend from that Dynastics.
Yeah, it's all falling apart for Lakitu. I mean, he just can't take the pressure of being hassled and harried by Netski and Dynastics. And Corey, everyone knows Corey's pace. I think Corey got his penalties quite early, but he hasn't had any for a while, I don't think. So that's good job from him to readjust to the track limits. But as you say, we got the Sam penalty, which may or may not stand, which I hope, if he did get a tap which made him speed, I'm sure that will be removed, so it doesn't take him out of the equation yet. But Larkin is definitely in the driving seat right now. He may be P6 on the road, but he could finish 3rd, 4th. It's anybody's guess at the moment, and this is going to be an incredible finish.
It is indeed. At the moment, Netski and Dynastics are both 2 warnings away from a penalty, so as long as they keep it fairly clean in the final laps, they won't be getting more than 3 seconds, and they know they've got to keep it clean. They know at the moment just running wide a couple of more times could be the difference between taking a victory and not. Netski's already had 1 win. Dynastics has finished 2nd twice. He finished 2nd on track last time out, but got disqualified, of course. Looks like it is going to be another case of a bridesmaid and never quite the bride for Dynastics, although at least he gets to see the bouquet of flowers, because Samba's yet to get on the podium, and it looks like he's going to miss out once more. Janelle still closing onto the back of Dan Murphy. I've said it before, I've said it again, I'm surprised how well these hard tyres are doing. Dan's not really lost a lot of pace, and Ollie Flavel still right behind his teammate on those hard tyres.
Yeah, it is a mystery how some drivers get these hard tyres to work. As there's a yellow in Sector 3, I'm not really sure why, but someone's obviously facing the wrong way. Oh, Lawman's okay. Someone outside the top 10, so it's not going to affect the potential race win, but still a shame that it's a testament that they're still trying at this stage of the race, that they are pushing and causing a little bit of a mistake. So credit to all the drivers today. I think they can cover themselves largely in glory. A couple of misadventures which will probably be looked at some point, but I'm just in awe of you never know who's going to win any race in this tier, even though you think you might know from quali. It's not always the case, as Lakitu has 2 minute penalties to keep the win. If it would finish now, and he's got to try and eke out a bit of a gap to stay on the podium. Can he do that?
Can he do that indeed? Ollie Flavel's managed to get past ahead of Lukey. What could get interesting here, if we just look at the ERS of Netski, of Dynastic, sorry, he's on 40%. Netski's on 5%. If he drops outside of DRS range, and it looks like at the moment he's borderline, this could be an opportunity for Dynastics to take a victory, as Janil has managed to get past Dan Murphy despite that front wing damage, and I can't blame him for staying out at this moment in time, because he's got a lot to lose if he comes into the pits. The fastest lap point, no consolation for the 5 points to get for 8th place. Janil not doing too bad at the moment, it's just whether that damage will kill his tyres towards the end of the race. Netski is still very low on ERS, and you can see how hard he's pushing to stay within a second of Lakitu. This could get very interesting indeed on the final 3 laps.
It definitely could, and it probably will. Anything can happen, and very usually does in Formula 1. Even in the league racing community, we still don't know who's going to win this race. We don't know the full lineup of the podium, but we are looking forward to finding out over these next few laps. And Dynastics has DRS open on Netski. Can he make the move down by the corner? Not quite, but he's in a very good position, and we'll get another bite at it. after this chicane. So let's stay on board with them and see what he can do down DRS as he will open it again. He's a lot closer than he was before, so he could just find a way through this time. Here we go. And that looks like the move done.
Straight round the outside there from Dynastics. Fantastic move on the brakes, and I think he had to get it done that lap because he was using all his ERS, obviously, to get that position done. So Dynastics takes second out on track, but with things as they stand at the moment, that could be the move for the race lead, with Lakitu having that 9 seconds of penalties. Further back, Samba's dropping back from Corby ever so slightly. Lakitu not really closing up to do anything about it. Dan Murphy still on the back of Janil, but those hard tyres. And to be fair, this is very late in the race, Dan, to have a yellow fuel light on your dashboard. You normally see that a lot earlier in the race, but we had a safety car, of course, as well. So Dan Murphy must have been really pushing it on fuel at the start of the race. He must have been quite low. He's got to be careful on this final lap that he doesn't run out of fuel as Corby picks up another 3-second time penalty. He's the second man alongside Lawmans to get into double figures.
Yeah, I mean, you praise a guy's ability for not getting any penalties, and then he goes and gets another one, so I'm going to take that praise back. I'm sorry. I mean, you had 3 at the time, but you haven't got any for a while. So I'm going to take the praise back, unfortunately. Come see me next week if you want it again. But anyhow, if you're here, I don't know. What am I saying? I think I've gone mad.
It's reached that point on a Friday when words just come out and no one's quite sure what order they're meant to come out with. What I do know is I think Racing Point need to teach their drivers maybe what the white lines mean ever so slightly, because that is 24 seconds combined between the two drivers all of a sudden. Dan Murphy closing in on Janelle here, who hasn't got the DRS, and Dan deciding that I want to go for the inside even though that door was closing all the time. He's going for a move on the inside here on Janelle, who has still got that front wing damage. This is going to be a pinch point on the exit. There's all sorts of wheel banging between them, and they need to be careful because Ollie Flavel is behind them, who has the same amount of penalties as Dan Murphy. Less than Janelle, and that's a beautiful view at this moment of Janelle just managing to hold on to that position for now. I think this could be the one to watch on the final lap of the race. It all seems to have got a bit tamer out at the front as Lakitu now onto that final lap. Dynastic still ahead of Netsky, and the two now seem to be very similar on ERS, so maybe that is still something to watch for Janelle and Dan Murphy. I swear this fight started when the safety car came in, and I can't remember a lap where they haven't swapped positions or come very close to swapping positions.
No, I can't either. They've always been there or thereabouts, but they haven't quite managed to get it done. So I'm looking forward to seeing the battle for the race win between Dynastics and Nitsky over the final couple of miles. And the podium again, it's not secure either. It won't be Corey. Corey's going to be lucky to finish top 6 at this rate. He's 4th on track, but he won't finish there.
Yeah, indeed, he won't. Obviously, Samba will get ahead of him, as will Larkin, and I think that will be it. This could be very close in here. Netsky and Dynastics are both using their VRS. Netsky, though, has the DRS. Is this going to be a final move for what is going to be the race win? He thinks about it. He's not able to get down the inside. Dynastic goes a bit deep into the chicane. Is that the last opportunity? It is now. Netsky's picked up another penalty all of a sudden. Dan Murphy has got ahead of Janelle, so he's now into 8th position. Is Ollie Flavel going to be having a say in all of this as well? They're all hopping over the curve severely. They're all running low on fuel, as you would expect at this moment in time, and I can see why Netsky went for that move earlier, but it did cost him in the end. Janelle now trying to go all the way around the outside. He's got penalties. This makes no difference whatsoever. He just wants to put a show on for us, and he gets that move done, and Ollie Flavel's got a very good exit there. Chucks his nose down the inside. It didn't work though. Lakitu crosses the line. Dynastics gets the win. Netsky just gets second by a 10th in the end. That got very close. Corby will drop behind Samba, and he will drop behind Larkin as well. Ollie Flavel's had a spin on the final lap. I think that was contact with Dan Murphy. I knew no matter which one I took my eyes off, something would happen in the other direction. Corby gets 6th. Konzo a good recovery to 7th. Janil is going to get 8th position. Dan Murphy will take that in the end. Lukey gets 9th. Ollie Flavel will cross the line, I imagine, a bit miffed in 11th place. And the only Thomas is going to get his first points of the season with a top 12 finish. Khalifa will come home in 13th place, and I think he will maintain that point for the fastest lap, so he will still get a point Lormans and Scopefielder will be your final finishers. That definitely makes up for last week for Dynastics, his first victory of the season. Just got to imagine he'd have a pretty commanding lead at the moment in the championship if it wasn't for that 2 pit stops.
Yeah, it was an amazing one-stop performance, but unfortunately in this league it doesn't get you anything except disqualifications. But in-game driver of the day, Dan Murphy, we'll talk about that very shortly, but Luke will probably confirm the order very shortly.
Yeah, just waiting then. We're just waiting for the podium to come up. It's some drivers we've seen quite regularly on the podium this season. I think it's the third one now for each of them from these 4 races. Perhaps not surprising that they are the top 3 in the championship, but we've not seen it in this order. Dynastics taking his first victory of the season, Netsky with his first 2nd place of the season, and Lakitu with his first 3rd position, meaning that Netsky still has the lead of the championship. He extends it ever so slightly now over Lakitu to, I believe, 6 points, with Dynastics just a point further back. They were your top 3. Larkin, look at that, the only driver to keep it clean. A very good performance from him to take 4th position. Samba in 5th. Corby, good debut in 6th. The race pace just not quite matching what we saw in qualifying, and penalties cost him as well. Good recovery from Konzo to take 7th. Dan Murphy in 8th. Lukey in 9th. Janil back in the points for the first time since Austria with a 10th place. Ollie Flavel would have got the 10th place because of penalties on the final lap. That spin dropped him down to 11th. The only Toma gets his first points. Khalifa, imagine where he could have done. He could have got a possible podium in this race. A broken front wing means he only gets he would have got the point for the fastest lap, but Schofield have actually stole that from him on the final lap, so no consolation at all for Khalifa. Lormans was the final finisher. The 2 Alfa Romeos retiring from that race. I imagine there's a lot of candidates for driver of the day that you're thinking of. There's definitely a lot I'm thinking of. It's come to the time where we have to make a decision.
Yeah, there definitely is. You can see from all the finishing positions from when they started, but I'm going to maybe surprisingly go for the guy, the only one that kept it clean today. So my selection for driver of the day is Larkin, and the question I would like to ask him is, was it always your plan, knowing that everyone around you was getting penalties, just to keep it as clean as you can? Did you expect at that point to get as many points as you've managed to secure today? Great drive though.
Yeah, great drive from him. I'm going to go for... Now, I know last week I went for someone a bit different, further down the field. I'm going back to the nice, boring, safe choice. I'm going to go for our race winner, Dynastics. How crucial was it for you that you saved your ERS in that race? And without that advantage, do you think you'd have been able to overtake Netsky out on track to take the victory? Those are the questions. They'll be answered by the drivers on the forum if they so wish, and you'll be able to vote on Twitter starting tomorrow and ending on Tuesday. A fantastic race once again. I don't know why we're surprised. We've come to expect this so far this season. There's so many top quality drivers. There's battling all throughout the field, and we've got our 3rd different winner from the 4 races. Definitely looks like we're going to have a good title battle between those that finished on the podium.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this title battle go all the way to Japan. I'm going to say that now. And I'm looking forward to the season regardless of what happens, but I think we've got a very good competitive field all the way down, and sometimes you'll have a bit of a shock result like last week where you had a championship leader not getting many points, so that could always happen again.
It could again. Who knows what could happen next time around. We know Suzuka is normally a season finale, and it is here. Abu Dhabi as well is normally a season finale. We've got another track that's traditionally a season finale next week for the halfway point of the season, and it's one where I imagine Samba Gamer might feel quite at home with that name. It is the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, also known as Interlagos, for the Brazilian Grand Prix, so make sure to check that out next week on the One Hub Racing channel, starting off with Prospectia at 6:15, Podium at 7, Precision at 7:45, and myself and Matt will be back in the comms box at 8:30 for the Pinnacle tier action. Thanks to Matt for joining me. Thanks to all you guys for watching. Thanks to all the drivers for taking part. Thanks to our sponsors as well, Vespertine, Liam RBS, and Next Level Racing, who provide the wheel stand. And we will see you guys next time around for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Good night.